So good afternoon. Good morning. My name is Maria de la Torre and I am the assigned reporter for the topic Article 281 to 285. So in this discussion, ano lang siya serve as a refresher and also murag i-review lang siya with regards to the recent topic which we discussed by the reporters. So let us start. So Article 281, which is the realization of pledged property. So once may the realization of pledged property, napasabot ani siya is ibaligya or to be sold certain kind of pledged property. So before that, let us first introduce or i-review na to ang upat. So first is ang pledge. Next is the pledger. Third is the pledge holder, and lastly is the pledge property. So once naman yung tag-pledge, so review lang niya. So once naman yung tag-pledge, it is somehow a promise or agreement in such point na magkaroon ng collateral for the payment of a debt or the performance of an obligation. So next, for example, si Mada, nangutang siya kay Shem. So si Mada will be considered to be the pledger or the debtor or nanangutang. Next is si Shem will be considered to be the pledge holder or siya itong nagpautang. And lastly, nagkaroon sila Kimada o si Shem og agreement like si Kimada, pero mo kog kwarta isang la na ko sa imo ha ang ako ang property. So katong property na gisanga ni Kimada is mo tong litag na pledge property. So let us begin. So one pledge property against which execution is levied in accordance with Article 280 of the present code shall be realized or sold by means of sale at public sale in the procedure established by legislation. So next is at the request of the pledger, the court shall have the right in deciding to levy execution against pledged property to defer the sale thereof or the public sale for a period of up to 1 year. So deferral shall not affect the rights and duties of the parties in regards to an obligation secured by the pledge of this property and shall not relieve the debtor for compensating the losses of the creditor and penalty which grew during the period of deferral. So, ang pledge holder, or let us put it on the perspective lang sa pledge holder. So for example, wala na bayaran ni Kimada, or wala na fulfill ni Kimada katong the right amount na kwarta na giutang niya. So the pledge holder has the right, like di ba gisang la na property si Kimada kay Shem. So in order para mabayaran si Shem had the right na to sangla the property. But take note, si Shem has no rights pa, wala pa siya rights pa to to give a specific amount of sale or price sa pagbaligyan niya into public. So dila na magsulod ang the court. So the initial sale price of pledged property at which the public sale begins shall be determined by decision of a court in the instance of levying execution against property in a judicial proceeding by agreement of pledge holder with the pledger in other instance. So di ba, like magkaroon pa siya certain kind of investigation, magkaroon pa na siya mga certain kinds of discussion, and also ang mga documents and other further details need to na siya i-process in order para i-release tong the right amount of price for the sale. So Or is the pledged property shall be sold to the person who offered the highest price at the public sale. So it's very common, like once may utang bidding, so kung sa mas higher price, mo to ang madaog. So when a public sale is declared to be unconstituted, a pledge holder shall have the right by agreement with the pledger to acquire the pledged property and to set off against the purchase price his demand secured by the pledge. So the rules concerning the contract of purchase or sale shall apply to the agreement. So di ba like once na magkaroon of um uh maging unconstituted, kung maging unconstituted is wala siya nag-work or wala nag-make sense ang declaration. So, ang pledge holder is na siya rights of agreement with regards to sa pledger not to acquire the pledged property, and siya mismo ang mag-set of price based on his demand and based on their agreement. So, mauto. So 6, in the event a second public sale is declared to be unconstituted, the pledge holder shall have the rights to retain the subject of pledge, valuing it an amount not more than 10% less than the initial sale price at the second public sale. So, nahitabo na sad. So, pero karon is sa public sale, sa second public sale. So, ang pledge holder is na siya right to hold the subject with regards sa pledge, and in which na po siya rights to increase more than 10%, which is less than sa initial sale price at the second public sale. So next is if the pledger does not take advantage of the right to keep the subject of pledge within a month from the date announcement of the second public sale undisputed, the contract of pledge shall be terminated. So kanang termination will be discussed unya. So if the amount received when realizing the pledge property is insufficient to the cover of the demand of pledge holder, he shall have the right in the absence of an indication in a law or contract to receive amount in arrears from other property of the debtor, so which does not enjoy a preference based on the right of pledge. So during a situation is naging insufficient ang amount, and then wala to um, nag-reach dito sa silang agreement. So si pledge holder has the rights to like mag-move other property kay debtor, which is in order for him to fulfill his demand or to cover the demand sa niya or of the pledge holder. So next is iba na po na scenario. So if the amount received in the event of realization of pledge property exceeds the amount of the demand of pledge holder secured by the pledge, so the difference will be returned to the pledge holder. So kung ngayon, naging sobra-sobra na po, itong sobra na to will mabalik kay pledger. So matun mo kasabot to. So realization of pledge on property. So a debtor or pledger who are a third person shall have the rights at that time until the sale of the subject of pledge to terminate the delivery of institutions on and the realization thereof. So having performed the obligation secured by the pledge or that part thereof whose performance has been delayed, an agreement limiting this right shall be null. So umata sa realization of pledge property. So lastly is next is the performance of obligation before time secured deliver execution against the pledge property. So pledge holder have the right to demand the performance before time on obligation secured by a pledge in instance of first is, so sorry like sa section na ni is i-dictate lang na ako siya kay basically mo siya ang thought niya is more on reading language siya. So also like Isig ko siya i-explain kay kung alam mo siya like given a good thought. So sorry if ma-discuss na ko siya like in a reading way. So the subject of pledge departed from the possession of pledger with whom it was left in violation of the condition of the control on pledge. So pangalawa is a violation by the pledger of the rules concerning substitution of the subject of the pledge which is under siya sa Article 276 of the present code. So mo itong discuss ni Timada na. So loss of subject of pledge under circumstances for which the pledge holder is not liable if the pledger has not taken advantage of the right provided by the Article 276 paragraph 2 of the present code. So next up is ang ano daw, the pledge holder shall have the rights to demand the performance before time of obligation secured by pledge, and if this demand is not satisfied, to legal execution against the subject of pledge in an instance of. So a violation by the pledger of the rules concerning subsequent pledge. Second is the failure of the pledger to fulfill the duties relating to the maintenance and preservation of pledged property provided for by Article 274, paragraph 1, subpoint 1 and 2, and paragraph 2 of that present code. So third is a violation by the pledger of the rules concerning the disposition of pledged property, Article 277, paragraphs 2 and 3 of that present code. So dinata sa termination of pledge. So kaysa termination of pledge agreement is ano na ko siya kay kaning i-summarize na ako siya kay tingnan kay ang tot and like kung basa-basahon pa na ako each sections is medyo madugayan po and medyo boring po. So i-generalize lang na ako termination of pledge agreement. So, di ba? Like, upon the obligation termination date, so the pledge of the securities here under shall immediately terminate without further act by any, always remember, without shall immediately terminate without further act by any party. So it's both the pledger, which is the pledger or the debtor, and also the um, pledge holder. So and mga requirements, mga covenants, and mga condition which contain within this pledge agreement relating to the obligation shall automatically siya ma-terminate. And the obligation terminate date shall means that the due upon which the payment and performance in full of obligation shall have been made. So always remember that. So malang term lagi generalize na ako tong mga thought dere sa termination. So mo to. So next is the preservation of the pledge in event of transfer of right to pledge property to another person. So iyan na po na ko ni siya tatawagan generalize kay since kung isa-isa ang po na ko is murag ano po siya murag madugayan po. So once sa mga magkaroon og transfer of right pledge property to another, pasabot lang siya that in connection with any transfer or assignment of the put right, so the pledges may transfer. So the pledges which is katong pledger not share rights to transfer all or any part of pledge shares, and the transferee shall thereupon succeed to all the rights, powers, and remedies granted the pledges hereunder with respect to the pledge shared transferred. So upon such transfer, the pledges shall be fully discharged from all liability and responsibility for the transferred pledge shares. So wala na responsibility ang ang I mean ang pledge ang pledger with regards kay since na transfer na niya to ang pledge niya to one another. So always take note of like for example like magkaroon ka og certain kind of a pledge agreement. Only one property is valid na siya. Kunyari nakaisa ka property which is the-pledge nimo, katong property na to will be valid for one agreement lang siya. So di mo siya magamit in a certain kind of transaction or pledge na po. So mo lang to. So motong brag sense aning katong regionalize sa gayon na. So next is consequences and compulsory withdrawal of pledge property. So ayan na siya misa. I think understandable naman natin siya. So if the right of the ownership of ledger to property which is the subject of pledge terminates on the ground and in the procedure established by a law as consequence of withdrawal, so for state needs requisition or nationalization, other properties or respective composition shall be granted to ledger. So in the instance when the property which is the subject of pledge is withdrawn from the pledger in the procedure established by a law on the ground that in reality the owner of this property is another person. So which is the stated siya under the Article 228 of the present code. So or in the form of sanction of for the commission of crime or another violation of law. So the pledge with respect to this property shall terminate. So in the instance provided for the paragraphs 1 and 2 of the present article, the pledge holder shall have the right to demand performance before time of obligation secured by the pledge. So, muna to ang end sa kong topic and I hope na mo rin nasabtan. So, next reporter will be JD Amogues. So, that's all. Thank you.